ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ। पार्थाय प्रतिबोधिताम् भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथिताम् पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीम् भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वाम् अनुसन्दधामि। भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। My namaskars to you all. We are deliberating verses from Srimad Bhagavad Gita from chapter number 13, Trayodoshadhyayah. Name of this chapter is Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga. So, we saw until verse number 6 in the last class, and here these two words Kshetra and Kshetrajna. So Bhagavan here says, here in the first verse, Idam shariram kaunteya kshetram iti abhidhiyate. This body is known as Kshetra. And further he had said, so the person who knows this body, this Kshetra, would be known as Kshetrajna. Okay, that is all right. So, and here Bhagavan makes another statement that he is Kshetrajna in Sarva Kshetreshu. So, whatever is embodied, that Lord God Bhagavan is the knower of it. If there is only one knower, so meaning that it he is not the object of knowledge of anything, he is ever subject. That one thing becomes very clear. So there are two things then, therefore. One is Kshetra and one is Kshetrajna. One is Prakriti and other is Purusha. Purusha is consciousness. Knowledge rests with him. And everything is to be known, knowable. That is Prakriti. So there is clear distinction between these two. So here in this chapter we will see much of this Sankhyan philosophy is drawn upon, as well as Bhagwan. He would be also speaking and talking over the ideas of Advaita also, Vedanta also. So Sankhya Darshan and Vedanta Darshan both. So it seems Bhagwan has no conflict of ideas whatsoever when he draws upon both these darshanas to put forward, to explain, to make understand things to Arjuna. So this is not a scholastic approach of a scholar, of a Pandit, sticking to the margins. No. Here Bhagwan is driving home the truth. What is essentially the truth? Whatsoever explains is better. So because Vedanta also draws from the Sankhyan philosophy, especially their cosmology, that is the idea of creation, etc. They differ only with Sankhyan in the ultimate conclusion. The Sankhyan says the ultimate conclusion is ultimate realities of dualistic nature, Prakriti and Purusha. Whereas the Vedantins, they say, no, it is not dualistic, it is ultimately one. There is nothing like material which exists apart from the Chaitanya. There is one and only thing, Ekam Advitiyam, Ananta Akhanda Kutastha Avichala Brahma. So Kshetra and Kshetrajna. So this distinction Bhagwan is making more pronounced. He feels that things are getting intermixed. So what now this in the last class we also saw, Bhagwan describes this whole idea of Kshetra also in two verses. In these two verses, 5th and 6th, right from the elements Mahabhuta, Mahabhutani, 5, and then etc. until this Sanghatas Chetana Dhrutihi, Pancha Chendriya Gocharaha, and also their Vikara, Ichcha Dvesha, Sukham Dukkham, Sanghatas Chetana Dhruti. So this is all everything along with the modifications of the mind, Vritti. So everything this is Prakriti and Vikara, Kshetra and Vikara. Etat Kshetram Samasena. Samasena means Sankshiptena, briefly I have said. So 5th verse talks about the Kshetra, and the first half portion of the 6th verse talks about the Vikara. Savikaram Udavrutam. Savikaram, along with the Vikaras. Udavrutam, I have told. So Kshetra is described in one verse, in 5th verse. What is Prakriti? What is nature? What is the object of knowledge? What can be known? What is not Kshetrajna? What is not consciousness? What is not the knower? What is not the subject? That has been defined. So everything made up of it on the physical as well as psychological level, mental level. That everything is kshetra. So that is object. It can be acted upon, not the subject. Subject cannot be acted upon. Now, once this idea of kshetra, prakriti, or what is to be known becomes clear, then idea he brings about it, this he starts this discussion that, see, idam sharira kaunteya kshetram iti abhidhiyate etadyo vetti tam prahu kshetrajna iti tadvidah. Etad yo, yo, yah or yo is the same thing. Yah in vibhakti it becomes yo. That's why etad plus yo becomes etadyo. So this is etadyo vetti. Etad. So etad means this. Yah means whosoever. Yah vetti means no. Etadyo vetti tam prahu, that person or that is called prahu kshetrajna iti tadvidah. Tam prahu kshetrajna iti tadvidah. So that person is called a kshetrajna, or that being is called as sadhana, or that is called a kshetrajna. This is to be known. Tadvidah. This is to be known. Why this is to be known? Because if this difference is known now, so kshetrajna he defines in one stroke, that one who knows kshetra. And he also says that I am kshetrajna, I am the knower of everything, that Lord God, Bhagavan, Ishvara, I am the knower of everything, whatever has been created. I am the soul, I am the consciousness of anything whatever exists. Okay. So now, and then after discussing, so in kshetra or prakriti or whatever is the material and psychological, everything he describes in this 5th and 6th verse. Now this is the world. Okay. He said it briefly, etat kshetram samasena. I said it briefly, because now that his intentions become clear. Why he is going brief? Because he has to say something. He wants to say something. And then he brings the idea of, then he immediately starts with this again, these virtues, as we have seen in the 12th chapter. After this practice of Ananya Yoga, then he immediately starts with Ahimsa, etc. From verse number 13th to almost its end. Verse number 13 to verse number, yes, to the end, 19, 20. Okay. So now we can understand why Bhagavan brings about this idea and why it is necessary to speak about kshetra and kshetrajna. This world, jagat, physical, that is gross, and subtle, that is the psychological. Sthula and sukshma, but both are jada, both are material. So Sankhyans and Vedantis both see mind as matter, because very clearly they say that mind is made up of Mahabhutani, very clearly made up of elements. So they do not have any doubt. Now, mind means All of it. Chitta, buddhi, mana, chitta, buddhi, ahankara. Everything is material. Something which is gross, which we call sthula, which is physical, which is sensory observable. And something is on psychological plane, on mental plane, that we call sukshma or subtle. But both are material, both are jada. They do not have consciousness. Consciousness is separate. That is Kshetrajna, that is Purusha, that is Ishvara. So everything is Prakriti, rest is Purusha. This distinction is made. Now Prakriti is explained along with its Vikara, etc. Then why this is? Then he brings the idea of now 5 verses. They goes from verse number 7. And at the end of this set of these 5 verses, Bhagavan says, Etad jnanam iti proktam ajnanam yadatonyatha. In the 11th verse, he says this. So this is the knowledge. So earlier this 12th chapter was called as Bhakti Yoga. This 13th chapter is also called as Jnana Yoga. Second Jnana Yoga. So, because second chapter is also called as Jnana Yoga. So here Bhagwan, now you have seen the verses like Adveshta Sarva Bhutana Maitra Karuna Evacha. Now you will see here ideas from this 7th verse onward, similar ideas, and Bhagwan says this is Jnana. He said something that this is Bhakti, and here he says similar ideas and he says this is Jnana. Wonderful it is, isn't it? He says Adveshta Sarva Bhutana Maitra Karuna Evacha, etc. Nirmamo Nirahankara. Again this phrase it will come. It immediately starts with Amanitvam, Adhambitvam, Ahimsa, Kshantir, Arjavam. So this is devotion and this is also knowledge. So he ends that the devotee who attains this Ananya Yoga. So Bhagwan has no problem with bhakti or jnana. Even Shankaracharya does not have any problem with bhakti or jnana. Shankaracharya is just hard on not to mistaken the ultimate nature of reality, not to mistake that. I have said to you earlier that these 3 terms, that Brahma, Ishvara and Sadeha Avatar, all these 3 concepts of God are valid and accepted in Hinduism. In one verse, Bhagwan uses all 3. That is verse number 6, chapter number 4. Ajopisan avyayatma bhutanam ishwaropisan prakrutim swam adhisthaya sambhavami atmamayaya. Ajopisan avyatma, referring to the Brahma. Bhutanam ishwaropisan, referring to the Ishvara. And prakrutim swam avashtabhya, prakrutim swam adhisthaya sambhavami atmamayaya. And this refers to avatara. Sambhavami, I take birth. Now, so now these are the ideas amanitvam, beginning with amanitvam adambhitvam. And Bhagwan says this is the essence of knowledge. That etad jnanam iti proktam. Ajnanam yadatonyatha. So whatever is besides this, that is ignorance. This is the knowledge. Meaning, the idea, the concept which he taught until now, until 9th chapter onwards, I said that theoretical portion as if ends in the 9th chapter. Bhagwan is all about the practice and realization of this knowledge into your experience, into your everyday experience, into living that knowledge. So the 10th chapter, 11th chapter, 12th chapter, now in the 13th chapter, the idea continues. So, if the nature of Brahman, Atman, if that is the reality, how it must transpire and spill over into your experience of every day, how you must become. Also, Shankaracharya has said this, that whatever is the realization of the perfected beings and what follows through, what their behavior is after that, if somebody does, so that becomes the sadhana for the aspirants who are the arurukshu, who are not perfected. That becomes the sadhana. So similarly, what we saw in the 12th chapter, Adveshta Sarva Bhutanam, etc. So that becomes the sadhana for the people who want to be perfect, or who want to reach that moksha, that illumination, that liberation, that direct vision of God, that samadhi, that realization of that truth. So this is sadhan. Adveshta sarva bhutana maitra karuna evacha nirmamo nirahankara samadukha sukha kshami, etc. So here also similar sets of ideas are now being discussed. So we will see them. So what is being said here? Amanitvam. So mana, not to have a mana, and that would become amana, and having such character, that is amanitvam, not having this unnecessary pride, mana, humility. We see in the life of the perfected beings, we see that is so much in the life of Sri Ramakrishna. He was very humble person, though he has realized so much which was vouchsafed, corroborated by the Pandits. And so to say, he was very respected by the powerful. Though in spite of that, if somebody mistakes him like a gardener, it doesn't create any undue, unwarranted vikara in his mind. He plays along. Amanitvam, adambhitvam. Dambha is, so mana is something, it is true, it is based on some reality that you have got something. Though you are disregarding the comparison, that you are not the only one, probably. There are many, but you are too obsessed with your accomplishment whatsoever. So that's why mana. But dambha is something still hollow and still worse than that. In dambha, you do not have even that. And you pretentious, you show off as if you are something great. Though you are being not so brave, not so intelligent, not so erudite, not so successful, not so rich, etc., etc., not so famous. Whatever it is. Dambha. So dambha is your own feeling and own estimation of yourself that you are very great. The 16th chapter is wonderful. 16th chapter very nicely discusses when it discusses this Asuri Sampat. So it is really enjoyable, and when Bhagwan speaks it, he puts it very nicely, and we can think of our own way or our own world where we live in. Most of us are doing it in small or big way, as if nobody understands it. And we as if stealthily creeps into these vices we do. Every day, if we have to just analyze, we have to roll back our CCTV footage of how we behave in every other way. When we are not conscious, when we are not on guard, and how do we conduct ourselves? How do we think ourselves? Or even if you do not wish to, what you are habituated to, you can imagine. You do not want to be bad, but that's what you have practiced all throughout. So that's what you turn out to be when you are not controlling yourself or trying to moderate yourself. You just transpire into that. How horrible situation. That even if you do not want to be bad, you just turn out to be. Because that is the beaten track, that is the beaten path which you have traversed up and down so many times. And willingly or not, you just turn out to be that. As if you are bound and you are condemned to that prison. How horrible that is. Amanitvam, adambhitvam. As soon as you will see somebody is, putting you down, writing you off, not paying it attention, ignorance, immediately you will go. Who am I? You will not be able to digest it. You will not be able to digest it. Amanitvam, adambhitvam, ahimsa. So, ahimsa, mostly it is translated as not to hurt anyone, right? Or better, not to kill any animal. So be vegetarian, etc. The root of ahimsa does not lie outside. It lies within you. It is virtue. So here the root of the crux or the soul of ahimsa lies within the intention of the individual. Birth and death, these are material because they are of material. It is this spitefulness of ours, this ill feeling, hatred of ours about anything in this world, which motivates us to obliterate it from its existence or hurt in that way. Even thinking or feeling like that would be hinsa. That despise in our heart would be hinsa. That you are hinsa. Then whether you smile or shout wouldn't matter. That is the hinsa. And anything, maybe because something just exists, something it is there, and you are not able to tolerate it. That is hinsa. However sweetly you may talk, however philosophically you may put it. Meaning that, so that means, so every act of suppose killing, punishment, or anything to hurt, to discipline would be called as hinsa therefore? No, act done out of this spitefulness, that would be hinsa. So every discipline, every punishment, including sending someone to gallows, can be totally rational thought. It is supposed to be rather. Because that's why it is called as justice. It has to be just. It has to be न्याय. आधा य उसके बाद फिर से य, न्याय. Then it would be called as justice. Just that it is necessary for the, not only for the larger good, even for the individual, that he must come to rest. So in any such interaction, in any such happenstance, in any such scenario, for a soldier, whether he should kill, yes, he is duty bound. It is duty bound. It is not out of his spitefulness. It is despite, he doesn't even know that person. He might be also similarly as a family man like himself. But disregarding his duty would be inadvertence. That would be inappropriate. So he must make the move. He must put his training to use. To punish someone, to ignore someone, to act harshly, everything within its proper framework, it will be only hinsa when it is done in that manner, in that spitefulness. Just only governed and propelled by your emotions, because you come to think like that. Of apartheid in various places, because somebody is black, so white people are, they do not even are ready to accept them as human beings. Or somebody belongs to somebody, one particular kind of group, so they must be persecuted. They must be obliterated absolutely, not judging anything on their merit, whether this argument is valid or not. Generally, these ideas are just propelled, they are just facade of something hideous, selfishness, which is lurking behind it. Somebody want to, further their own interest. And they talk of big things. Now that is the true hinsa. So, amanitvam, adambhitvam. So, in the most earlier classes of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, I had said this, I remember. There are few concepts in Indian this religious world which were very mistaken, and misunderstanding of these very principal ideas had literally caused us a fortune of ages. It literally caused our downfall. One of the important idea which we very misunderstood is this idea of ahimsa. Other ideas being the ideas of moksha, ideas of vairagya, idea of ahimsa being one, and idea of purity being other. These are the principal ideas which we made the monkey out of it and we paid the price. 1200 years and continuing. All right. So, this is the cost of it. Rather, it would be hinsa not to have sufficient manliness. Cowardice is hinsa. Not to have guts to face an opponent, to challenge someone, to point out its mistake, error, to protect your own weakness and selfishness, that would be true hinsa. Not to have courage, confidence, and guts to lend a blow when it is required, it would be true hinsa. What we were taught, it is horrible. What we came to believe is horrible. Gandhian ahimsa is one of the most obnoxious version of it. No human being should be put to such exposure of such ideas. It is completely berating, condemning the soul and spirit within the human being. And that's how much skewed it was. So, idea of ahimsa is not about your dietary practices. It's not. Idea of ahimsa is about the self-belief, self-confidence, courage, and not to have weakness. The idea of ahimsa must come from the strength. It is based in freedom, this charitability, this catholicity, this open-mindedness, this all acceptance of others. That would be true ahimsa. Letting people be by their way, by their own way, that would be true ahimsa. As Sri Ramakrishna used to put it, Karur bhav nashto karbe na. That not to destroy someone's attitude or emotional attitude, bhava, with which somebody is doing, has invested, progressing in some way. Especially, this is paid in the context of a spiritual development and growth. So, amanitvam, adambhitvam, ahimsa, then kshantihi and arjavam. So, kshanti is not shanti like ksha. This is kshanti, ksha. Kshanti, this is not kshama. This is not shanti either. Kshama is pardoning or forgiving that is Kshama. Shanti is peace, and Shanti means forbearance. Forbearance, Shankaracharya, he says, he puts it nicely. What does Shanti? That is forbearance. That is, he said, he adds, remaining undisturbed when offended by others. So there is similar word. So it's called as titiksha. In Shamadhi Shat Sampat, this Shama etc., this 6 wealth, these are required when Bhagavan Shankaracharya in Vivek Chudamani, he puts it that way. Shama, Dama, Titiksha, Uparati, Shraddha and Samadhan. So this Shama, Dama, this third virtue is called as Titiksha. And there also he describes or defines that virtue in the similar way, just as Shanti. Sahanam sarva dukkhanam. Sahanam sarva dukkhanam apratikara purvakam chinta vilaparahitam sa titiksha nigadyate. So this ability to forbear, sahana, ability to bear all pains and miseries or sorrows, sarva dukkhanam, without any reaction, apratikara purvakam, without any reaction, and chinta vilap, not only that you are thinking, not only you are not reacting outside, you are not reacting mentally also. Therefore, chinta vilapa rahitam. This ability is called as titiksha. So, when you want to do that, you can do that. When you wish to do that tapas of forbearance, you have such control over your mind. Titiksha. So there would be something where you must react, respond. Those instances are different. But where something which you must do, but you know, it is somehow uncomfortable. So can you persist in such a way, not only that, you do not resist it, apratikara, but you do not, welling within yourself, chinta vilapa rahitam. So, many times we do. Some work we have to do, we are doing it, nobody is there. But all the time grumbling about someone. सब मुझे ही करना पड़ता है, कोई ध्यान देने के लिए नहीं, ये लोग मुझे मतलब है ना नौकर समझ के रखे है, ये करना है वो करना है, इनको कोई मेरी कीमत नहीं, रोना धोना मतलब है ना. So much that angst, that person, maybe it is desirable, or maybe it helps that individual, or maybe it has some material benefit, that context to context it might be different. That's a separate issue. However, when he is talking about these ideas, titiksha, so they are all about control of the mind. Because earlier two verses they are talking about shama and dama, and then the idea of titiksha. So if in this context we see Kshama, Dama, Titiksha, then Uparati, and then Shraddha, and then Samadhan. So this is about training of the mind. And here mostly what Titiksha or what pain Shankaracharya is talking about is about the pain which arises out of your own mind, which your own sense organs are provoking and inflicting that pain upon you. That is the pain. So to forbear it, not to react and not to contemplate, here is the highest meaning of titiksha. This also becomes manifest in the lives of the perfected beings, Jivan Mukta Mahapurusha. If he has to react, he can react. But if he doesn't has to, he will not. We see in the life of Sri Ramakrishna, we see in the life of Holy Mother, we see in the life of Swami Vivekananda, that he is provoked, insulted, humiliated, till Swamiji didn't even react to him, like as if he is dead to those provocations. So Kshanti is this forbearance. Then the last idea in this first half is Arjavam, that is Rujuta. So Rujuta, which is Ru, that is Rutam, Ja, that is Jayate. So which is aligned to truth, which is not falsifying, therefore which is straightforward, which is not crooked, that is Arjavam, that is Rujuta. This Sri Ramakrishna has stressed and he gave a very high importance to this one virtue. He used the word what? Saralata. Sri Ramakrishna, he says, this straightforwardness, this saralata comes in the last life. This is what he said. That it is so precious. It's so precious. It comes in the last life. Last life meaning that he will not be born again. This would be his last birth. This would be his last birth. That he will attain to God in this life itself. So what straightforwardness he is talking about, that must be not straightforwardness as we understand it. No, everybody of us think that I am very straightforward person. There is no crookedness in me. Except from him, everybody thinks that this fellow is very crooked. Including his father, mother. Everybody of him, nobody believes him, and he says, "मैं बहुत simple आदमी हूँ." Except for him, nobody vouchsafe is ready to vouchsafe that virtue about him. We are that simple. So, aligned to the truth, that is this Arjavam, this Rujuta, this is there. Shankaracharya says sincerity, uprightness, absence of crookedness, that is Arjavam. So, and now see, earlier when these verses from the 12th chapter, Adveshta Sarva Bhutanam, etc., when they were going on, I said to you that it is not the list of the virtues. It is not just the list of the virtues. It is the meditation on Brahman itself. I said to you that it is meditation on Brahman itself. Here also. Here, when Bhagavan is saying that Etad jnanam iti proktam, that this is the knowledge. Ajnanam yadatonyatha. If this is not there, then it is ignorance only. What is the meaning of this? That when he is talking about amanitvam, adambhitvam, ahimsa, shantihi, arjavam, and he said this is jnanam, what is the meaning? What is jnana? Its simple connection or simple explanation is the person who has attained knowledge, who has become perfected, it would be his natural disposition, these virtues. Like starting with amanitvam, adambhitvam, ahimsa, kshanti, arjavam, etc. They are 5 verses from 7th onwards. It would also mean that if you seek to attain that knowledge, want to be free, want to be liberated, want to have that enlightenment, illumination, then this is the thing, this is the path to knowledge. You practice this and you will reach there. So, and why so? Why just being like that will reach it to knowledge? Because this is essentially rooted and based upon knowledge, and it is the practice of knowledge itself. How somebody will be amani and adambhi or ahinsaka or with shanti and arjavam? How this is? Because I said in those verses also, in 12th chapter also, because based upon this reality, this knowledge, this crux of this Vedanta or crux of this knowledge is about what? This knowledge is about that the nature of reality, which is consciousness itself, existence, consciousness, bliss, absolute, that is one, undivided, meaning denying everything, that this is not true, what we know as true. So apparently what reality is, it is not true. The ultimate nature of reality is this one, without a second, ekam advitiyam. Now if I am that, then I am not this. So I am that one akhanda, ananta, avibhajya, achidra, purna brahma. And in me, this whole gamut of this varied creation has manifested. So I have become this. I am that consciousness which is permeating, enveloping, and is the substratum of all this illusion. I am that ocean of consciousness. In me, this me, you, and all these different variations are being expressed or imagined. Now therefore, if this is play, if this is illusion, and this is swapna, and this is maya, then none of this thing is important enough to rake my head against it. Therefore, if somebody doesn't pay me respect, I can afford to be amani. I do not have to impress anyone. I can afford to adambhi. I do not have to despise anyone. I can afford to be ahinsaka. If somebody is lending me pain, somebody is something or any instance, or even from within me, I need not have to react to it. So I can have shanti, forbearance. And what I have to achieve by being crooked, that's why I can have that arjavam. So practice of this virtue is practicing, it is continuous nididhyasana of that Brahman. This is called as nididhyasana. If you have understood Shravana, Heard and understood, then it is Shravana. If you have understood this, how to practice, then this is Manana. When you would be practicing that, then it would be called as Nididhyasana. When this Nididhyasana, this continuous real-time contemplation in action, you would be doing, you would realize that Brahman itself, that you are that reality itself. You are not this petty, insignificant, emotionally confounded existence, what you call as I. So I am that. So I am that great. I am the Ishvara itself. That there is no differentiation between me or any other thing of this world. On that plane, on the plane of that consciousness. So I need not take this world too seriously. I can let go. And being can be rooted, oriented within myself, which is the nearest way to that consciousness, to that reality, to that Brahman, to that Atman, to that God. I can dedicate, I can not be obsessed, not be attached, and focus, concentrate myself on the realization, direct realization of that reality. So this is Nididhyasana, Amanitvam, Adambhitvam, Ahimsa, Kshanti, Arjavam. So this is the first half of the 7th verse of this 13th chapter, Trayodasha Adhyaya. नेक्स्ट क्लास होगा. हाँ, अच्छा ठीक है. शंकराचार्य जयंती के दिन ठीक है. ठीक है. ओम शांति शांति शांति. हरि ओम तत्सत्. श्री रामकृष्णार्पणमस्तु.